Good evening again, everyone. Michael here, and welcome back to the channel. It is Tuesday, the 20th of February, 2024. I hope you're all well and safe wherever you may be around the world. Part 12 of the 172 rebuild. When we finished up our episode yesterday, we had just completed the pilot side interior door panel, the rear panel, and we got these sun visors installed and started trying to determine where about we want to mount the GoPro for the best overall visual experience. Today we're moving along to the co-pilot interior panel. I want to get that fastened up, and we'll get that co-pilot rear panel fastened up there, and that's going to finish off the co-pilot side. We'll drill our hole for our interior handle for the co-pilot, and we will then take a couple moments to discuss the angle of attack indicator and how that all comes together and works and interfaces with the simulator. So just as with the pilot side, I went ahead and did all the measuring and cutting and assembling for the co-pilot interior door panel, simply because it was rather time consuming and I didn't necessarily want to spend a whole lot of time streaming doing that. But again, it is the same concept as we did on the pilot side panel and the rear panels and the rooftop. You know, it's just folded over, 1/4 inch MDF here. We have some batting material in between the layers to give it a nice cushy feeling, and then we just staple gun it to the back. And that's essentially how all of the interior panels are constructed. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get this thing mounted up. I'm going to switch over to the other camera. I did narrow the view angle just a little bit of the GoPro, and the reason for that is afterwards I want to see if we can't get a first person view flight in. So essentially I'll strap that GoPro straight to my line of sight and see how it looks from a first person point of view. So, first thing I'm going to do, just like previously, is we will go ahead and loosen up the display mount. That's going to give the display some wiggle room. I'm going to widen this up just a little bit while we do this. And I'm just pulling my board away just a little bit, putting the screws back in slightly, and that's just going to allow my side display to wiggle just a little bit. Now, as we discussed yesterday, one thing we don't want to happen is we're too tight on our display and we shatter the display. So by loosening up that back imitation wall, that gives our display some room to maneuver in and out, so that we'll get our interior panels screwed up in place, and then we will hand tighten our display back up against the interior panel. And for now, I'm just going to kind of test fit this up here and hope that my measurements and cutting are correct. I'm going to square it up against the front edge and the top edge. That's the important part. That's where our door closes at. I'm just going to kind of feel around here. Make sure we don't have any overhang along our door frame. And we don't. And just like yesterday, we're going to kind of do it in this two-step process. We're going to drill a small hole in our vinyl, and then we'll start our screws. Let's get these screws handy. And again, for my OCD purposes, I'm going to essentially mirror the screw locations that we did on the pilot side, and then that'll give the airframe a symmetrical appearance. Okay, let's grab this panel, put it up here in place. Make sure we're even. Gonna be good. Looks like we might have a board that's slightly warped, throwing my perception off. I will not say that doing this one-handed is not necessarily an easy task. Uh-oh, something's crooked. Maybe not. Should be right. So from what I can tell, either this top board is crooked or my door frame is crooked. It'll be alright. It's not much. Okay. Let's go ahead and get one down here in the corner. Closes. Yep, that'll be alright. As long as the door closes, it'll be alright. because there is still going to be an exterior that goes on. Then if you back them off just slightly, it gets rid of that little bit of twist it puts in the vinyl as you tighten the screw down. Danny Sugar, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the channel. Speaking of thank yous, while I'm thinking about it, I do need to give a lot of thank yous out real quick. Several new follows while we were offline over the last couple days. Farmer for Life coming in with a new follow. The Warthog Project honors mine with a new follow there. Microsoft Bins Bowels 95, new follow. The 14K. Yum and Dumb, thank you for those new follows. And then just now Danny Sugar, greatly appreciated. So welcome in, and we are currently installing our interior door panel. For the Copilot. We're replicating what we have over here on the pilot side. Right along the inside of the A-pillar here, along the front of our door frame. Actually, let's go ahead, just like we did on the other side, we're going to utilize these existing screw holes here to go into our support boards. Actually, probably gonna have to go just a bit lower. And then again, these are being screwed into our two support boards that are running directly underneath our display. This is the one that's going to give me problems holding on to. Those two in, and we're going to go along that same line, which means let me go grab this square. It's not going to be perfect, it's just going to help me kind of eyeball it. thank everyone for coming in and hanging out for a little bit on a Tuesday evening. I know you have several choices of what you may be able to do, so taking some time out of your day to come and hang out, always grateful, always a pleasure. Okay. Let's see. The next ones are how far? About 13 inches. So I'm going to come down about 13 inches. I'm going to poke a hole. Okay. And then now I'm going to use that new screw as my guide. And we're going to put one right about here. Right about here. And right about here. Okay. Then we got two more to do along the bottom. One on the corner and one in the middle. And then we'll move along to our rear panel. Okay. Let's close it up and see how it looks. It'll be alright. And now what we can do, now that we have our door panel installed, is we can bring in our rear panel and fasten it in a location that can kind of essentially come up and join so that when our door is closed, it's kind of a smooth transition between the two. I think that'll work out just fine. pushing this up as high as I can, all the way flush against the roof panel, to kind of bring a nice transition there as well. And then let me get this second top screw in, and we'll see the bottom. I'll show you the bottom, how it transitions to the carpet. I made the bottom long enough that it would actually kind of flow over our carpet here. It provides a pretty nice transition there as well. I'm going to loosen up this second screw that I put in. I had it pushed all the way up against the top, but that brought me away from my door. So I'm going to sacrifice a little bit of clearance at the corner between the, the roof and the wall here. I'm going to sacrifice just a little bit right here to make it join here. But there's still plenty of coverage there. I'm not too concerned about it. So that being said, let's go ahead and poke a hole here. And get it screwed in up against our door. Then I'm going to come back in up here and use that same hole. Okay. And then just to, maintain unison, we're just going to kind of relatively eyeball it. Poke a hole. And again, the reason I'm poking the hole is because I don't want the screw to grab the vinyl and twist it all up into a knot. Hey Google, turn the hanger lights on. Going to move right along, left to right, top to bottom, securing our panel in. Go 2 more along the bottom. And then that will have effectively completed our panel installation for this side. We'll have to drill our hole for our door handle, and then we'll see what we can do about getting our angle of attack indicator installed. And I'll take a couple minutes to discuss that. Okay. I don't think that turned out too bad. And now, just as I did yesterday, by hand, we're going to go ahead and tighten up our wallboard that holds our display. We're doing this by hand so that we can feel it if it gets too tight. Since everything is pre-drilled and pre-shimmed out, if there's any resistance going in, that's going to give you an indication that that there could be a potential clearance issue. But everything feels good. Okay. Now our display is flush up against our interior panel. One last thing we need to do is install our door handle, which again is, it looks very similar to the 172 Foxtrot handle. It is, however, for a mid-60s GM style truck. And again, instead of it clipping on, I took a 1/2 inch tap and I created threads inside of this door handle. And then we're just gonna, put the bolt through and tighten it up. It's not gonna be functional other than the fact that it is gonna help me to ensure that the door is closed when I pull it behind me. So I'm gonna start off with a very little drill bit. I've already got a 1/2 inch hole through the main pull board, this 2x4, but we still need to go through our new interior door panel now, and we need to be very careful that our drill bit does not catch our vinyl, because unfortunately I can't really poke it from the inside to find it. So let's go ahead and the exact middle. Okay, and hope for the best here. Alright, I think what I'm going to try today versus yesterday, what I did is I essentially unchucked my drill bit from the drill, and I'm just going to kind of use my hand and try and poke it through. Alright, that gave me a good idea. Then what I'm going to do is come in from the front, now that I know where it's at. And I'm just going to kind of make a very little slice laterally, starting outwards, working towards the middle there. And then horizontally, I'm basically making an opening. Kind of like that. And I'm just trying to move as much of this batting material away from this hole as I can, because I don't want my 1/2 inch drill bit to catch it. Okay, I'm gonna step up to, I don't know what size this is, it's less than 3/8. 1/4 inch. So I started with an 1/8 inch, I'm stepping up to a 1/4 inch. Bit. And then finally we need this 1/2 inch bit. And I can see that we're starting to push some stuffing through here. It's getting caught in that drill bit. So you might have to kind of reach in there, smooth it out. Just got to get through that 1/4 inch MDF, and then I'll be able to fish that bolt through the rest of it. Because I couldn't find the bolts at the length that I actually needed, I had to get longer ones, which is resulting in an unusual amount of lock washers and flat washers to take up the space that I need to tighten the assembly up against the interior panel. And again, I'm going to also put a flat washer on the inside. That way when I draw it in, there's more surface area, and that it doesn't just recess down into the wood. So hopefully this will poke through here. Make sure you start it square. And I have an adjustable wrench that I'm going to use to hold the back side of this bolt. Whatever I did with it. Work. Good enough. Okay. Angle of attack. You know, we have our typical flying attitude, angle of attack. The angle of attack indicator can actually give you more of a visual interpretation of your current angle of attack, sort of a green, yellow, or red type scale, sort of a go, no go. You know, you're exceeding it, you're all right. Appreciate that. Coming along really nice, he says. I do appreciate that. Thank you so much for that compliment. Cloaked Envy. Cloaked Envy. So yeah, I do appreciate that. My hope today is to do some flying in person, and then that'll kind of give you all sort of the experience that I get sitting right there. So I've narrowed the GoPro lens, and we're going to go first person this evening. But the interior co-pilot panels all in, rear panels in. I'm going to take a moment and talk about the angle attack indicator, how I constructed it, and what powers it. So I am going to go ahead and share my screen real quick. It is essentially a 3-inch Raspberry Pi display, 3.5 inch Relatively inexpensive on Amazon, but it comes bare. It doesn't come inside, and like you get the display and you get like the ports and stuff, but it comes without a housing or anything of the sort. So what I picked up is this Raspberry Pi case, and I was able to sort of put this display inside of this housing. And what that resulted in is something that looks very similar to this right here, this ugly looking thing. It's just a black box. I fabricated a little metal bracket because before I had this sort of screwed into the top of the front of the cabin. That's probably how we're going to end up doing this as well. But it did require a 90-degree HDMI adapter. That's simply so that I didn't have that cable sticking out that far. You know, I just was able to come in from the back like that. But that's all there is to it. It runs off of it's powered off of a USB cable, and it's like I said, it's HDMI out to whatever video card, and I use Air Manager to provide the indication for this. So this does not get plugged into my X-Plane computer. This gets plugged into my Air Manager computer as an additional display, and then I tell Air Manager where to assign the angle of attack indicator. So that's the plan, I think, right now. Yeah, because we got our interior panels on. So let's go ahead and see if we can get this positioned up in there. I'm going to turn the camera this way. Let's turn some lights on here. So, you know, it would be should have audio. Yep. I mean, it could be somewhere up here. Yeah, I could put it somewhere down on the glare shield. But I do kind of think I enjoy it up here. I know that in a lot of 172 iterations, you know, the actual component would be on the glare shield, but we don't have that physical depth either. Okay, our glare shield is only about 8 inches deep. You know, if you're wearing a plane, you know, we got close to 17 inches from the front of our panel to the end of the, you know, the actual glare shield. So, you know, and I don't want it down low. I think that takes up too much real estate above the glare shield. So I think that is probably where it's going to end up going. And just to kind of reduce the kind of cabling, I went with a thin, flat, you know, USB cable. It can be tucked up in between panels and whatnot. Just kind of helps keep that cabling out of sight. For now, I am going to step out of the cockpit and step around and see how easy I might be able to get this thing screwed up to the back of the top of our roof panel here.
I've decided this might be a little bit tricky. So here's what I'm going to have to do, because I can't necessarily get a good reference of center from out there where I can kind of see where the screw gun would need to go. I'm going to hold it up into place, and I'm going to mark about where center would be. I should actually probably measure it. Okay. Our cabin should be 42 inches wide on the inside. Okay, that's what I thought. So 21 would be our middle. Right about there. Okay. I say about because I know it's not exact. And a pretty bad kind of parallax effect there. It's hard to get an accurate reading on it. But if that's middle, if I place my bracket right there, that should be good. Then I'm just going to kind of come up here and scribe a line where my bracket is blindly. Okay. Now I should be able to go out there, hold it up in between those two lines that I scribed on this bracket, and should be pretty darn close to middle, to center.
difficult than I thought. Okay. Let me grab my USB cable so I can get that plugged back in. If it's not centered, it's centered enough. Okay. Now that the daunting task of plugging that thing in one-handed is completed, I'm going to snug that screw down just a little bit, keep that thing from moving. Okay. The USB is going to get plugged into the USB hub for the Air Manager computer. And then I have one display port open on the Air Manager computer, and that's HDMI. However, I do have HDMI to DisplayPort conversion cables. I just bought a whole bunch of new ones. Previously, I was using these things. They're converters. They convert DisplayPort to HDMI. Then you can run an HDMI cable to both components, or to your component. I found these to be a failure point, and a very common failure point. To where I had to come out and unplug and replug the displays back in. So I wanted to eliminate these as a failure point. So I did purchase all new DisplayPort 2 HDMI cables. So let me go grab one of those, because we're going to need to run that to that angle of attack indicator. I'll be right back with you. Please don't go anywhere. Okay. I forgot the cable. Here's what I purchased from Amazon. It was a pack of 5. They're 10 feet long each. Relatively decent price point. It does have a relatively thin profile. And we have DisplayPort on one end. And we have HDMI on the other end. So our Pi monitor has an HDMI input. And we have one DisplayPort output left on the back of our Air Manager computer over there. So let me go ahead and let's move this camera over here for now. And then we'll do that. Alright. This one end is going to get plugged into the back of the 1080. Then this other end, I come up, and if I can reach it, Windows should detect it. Okay, there is a display on it. Video control panel. We're going to set up multiple displays. I need to know where that display is at. And it's probably this one. No, not that one. Number 4 maybe. Let me identify that. Okay. So what we just installed there is display number 4. But display number 4 right now needs rotated 90 degrees to the right. Okay, we are in portrait mode, but we need to go to portrait flipped. And what that's effectively doing, let me keep these. Our display there, we need to make sure that our graphic or whatever our background is the correct orientation, or our gauge is not going to display correctly. So now that we've identified the display number and we've oriented it correctly, it's just a matter of going into Air Manager and assigning our angle of attack to that particular display. So here we are on our angle of attack. And I want this panel to show on display 6. And let's go ahead and activate it. And then we'll step in here. And we can see that we have our angle of attack indicator there. Okay, so that's in, that's installed, that's working. For now, I'm going to go ahead and turn these panels off. Okay. Alright, interior panels are in. Angle of attack indicators in. I say we fire up X-plane and we're going to go for a first person point of view type flight and we'll see how it goes. So let me get that program started up. Resonated, glad you could be here too. Yep, we're gonna get this thing started up here, and I narrowed the viewpoint for the GoPro, so hopefully it'll provide you with the same type of visuals that I see. At least that's kind of the theory that I'm hoping to go for. We're going to just start at my home airport and we're gonna, let's see, wind the clock back, use real weather. Okay, start that flight. ready to go. That's ready to go. Get this out of here. Let's turn on the trim wheel. Okay. Let's see. GoPro's in there. Let's get rid of this. Don't need this right there. Let's get rid of this. Don't need that right there. Alright, I think we're ready to go. Let's see if we can do this here.
Alright. Hopefully everyone can hear me alright. Okay, this will be interesting. I do want to thank everyone for coming in and hanging out for part 12 of our rebuild here. We got the interior passenger panel in. My hope is we'll get these A-pillars vinyled, get the air vents done relatively shortly. Okay. Hello, love. We're gonna do one lap in the pattern here. Do a kind of a first-person point of view test. What do we need to do? We need to start up some stuff here. Let's get flight control started up. Let's get VATSIM started up. Connect. Okay, everything else is good there. Let's check our fuel. Actually, we'll just check our fuel. We'll just do a master on here. Okay, we are fully fueled. Okay, beacon on. Gonna kind of skip the walk around today. We're just gonna skip our walk around. I did it briefly just a little bit ago. Um, Everything seems to do alright. I need to get this cable out from under my feet here. Okay, feels good there. Alright. Here we go. Real quick, seat belts work very similar to the seat belt in your car. Air vents are in the top right and top left of the plane here. Fire extinguisher is located behind us right here. It's a type BC. Exits are to the right and to the left. And feel free to point out any planes you might see. And if you have any questions, now would be the time to go ahead and ask. Alright. Circuit breakers. Circuit breakers are all in. Alternate static air is in. Okay. Seat track, we are scooted up. Master's on, beacons on, mixture's gonna go full rich. Let's get 4 in the primer. 1, 2, 3, 4. Primer. Okay, primer is in and locked. Okay. Brakes on. Okay, throttle slight. Clear prop. We are clear on the left. And clear on the right. And clear front. For all intents and purposes, we are clear behind us. Okay. Beacons on. And max to start right away. I'm looking for oil pressure and RPM. If I don't have either one of those, I am shutting her down. Here we go. Oil pressure is in the green. I do have engine RPM. Okay. Let's go ahead and get our taxi light on and our landing lights on so that we can be seen. That does complete our startup checklist. My seatbelt is already on. Flaps are currently up. Let's go ahead and cycle them down real quick. Alright, we're down on the left, down on the right. Let's cycle them back up. Stephen Bow, appreciate the compliment. Cloaked Envy, thank you for the compliment, man. Thanks for joining the adventure in the process. Okay. Flaps are up, flaps are good. Avionics, let's get those on. Altimeter, let's go ahead and set the field elevation here. Transponder, let's get that on. Let's do altimeter reporting mode. ADS-B is tied into our nav lights. Let's get those on. Radio, tell you what. We are on Unicom. Okay, I am transmitting when I push my push the talk button there. Okay, position checks. Okay. I don't know if we're going to be able to grab the localist, the closest AWAS on the ground here, but we'll see. Yeah, we are too far to go ahead and grab Marion's AWAS. Okay, oil temperature is still kind of low. Don't want to get going too just yet. where are we at here? Altimeter has field elevation transponders on. Okay. Attitude indicator and turn coordinator, brakes, we'll test all of that on the roll. Let's go ahead and set our heading indicator to compass. We're going to check this again as we get away from these steel buildings, which could be deviating our compass. Okay. Alright, let's go and get our parking brake off. Okay, let's do a manual brake test. Alright, brakes are good there. I want to look at what my close assist weather is. Mike November, November, winds out at 150 at 6. Clear below 12, visibility is 10, temperature 0. Dew point -6, altimeter 3024, that's 27 minutes old. Okay. We are field elevation, altimeter 3024-ish. Alright, I say we got relatively good weather information. Tell you what, let's go ahead and taxi down so that we can get a better look at our windsock. We are going to have, it looks like, a crosswind either way, although I think runway 10 is going to give us a better option. Yeah, we definitely got like that 160 crosswind, okay. Let's keep that in mind. So I can tell that the viewpoint for the GoPro is just a little bit too high, and what's happening is we're getting a sort of a horizon mismatch compared to my line of sight. Let's see if I can kind of bring that down a little more. Okay, we'll try this. More county traffic, Skyhawk 8033 Foxtrot, back taxi 10 more. I'm going to look to the left, make sure it's clear. I'm going to check 10 final, make sure it's clear. I'm going to turn my strobes on because we entered the runway environment. And we're just going to go ahead and back taxi right up 10 here. Our oil temperature is come up there in the green, so we're going to go ahead and exit off the run-up area and do a quick run-up. Winds were 150. Tell you what, let's just nose us this way, kind of right into that wind. Okay. That will work. Run-up checklist. What's on our run-up checklist? Fuel is on both. Okay. Trim. Set for takeoff. Okay. Flight controls. We are down on the right. Up on the left. Down on the left. Up on the right. Elevator. Rudder. True and responsive. Okay. Alright, mixture is in for best power, primer's in and locked, 1600, here we go. Left mag, there's an RPM drop. Right mag, there's an RPM drop, back to both. Carpet on, there's an RPM drop, let's bring our idle back, let's bring it all the way back. Alright, let's bring it back up with that carb heat on. About 1500, let's get that carb heat off. Suction is in the green. Oil pressure and oil temperature look good. We do have good fuel flow. We are charging. Everything's looking good. Let's go ahead and idle back and check our throttle friction. Okay. Morrow County traffic, Skyhawk 8033 Foxtrot is taking runway 10 left closed traffic Morrow. Okay. Let's take a look, make sure the right 10 final is clear, and it is. The runway is clear, and it is. I am clear for takeoff. Alright, here we go, full power. Carb heat's off. Rudder for center. Airspeed's coming alive. Keep some wind correction in there. And neutral and rotate. And we're up. Positive rate. Let's climb out at 80 miles per hour. Keep that rudder in. I do like to set heading bug to wind direction, kind of gives me a visual. KW for life, and welcome on in, my friend. Hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for the compliment. Do appreciate it. We are climbing out at 80 miles per hour on runway heading. Looking for 1800 feet before I make my crosswind. Let me lift my left wing, make sure it looks clear, and it is. Morrow County, Skyhawk 8033 Foxtrot, turning left crosswind, 10, full stop, Morrow. 2100 is my traffic pattern altitude. There it is, let's level off here. That looks good there. Let me lift my left wing, make sure it's clear. Let's roll into a downwind. Morrow County, Skyhawk 8033 Foxtrot, left downwind, 10, full stop, Morrow. Alright, airspeed's 100 miles per hour, looking good there. Tell you what, I'm out of my green arc. Let's go ahead and get some carb heat on now. We're just about midfield on the 10 downwind. Okay, looking at midfield, looking at downwind, looking all around me, making sure that, you know, traffic is clear. Right, we are being the numbers, showtime. Let's get power back to 1600. And let's get flaps at 10 degrees and pitch for 80 miles per hour. Looking for a good 45. We're still looking out for traffic that could be around us. My left wing looks clear. Morrow County, Skyhawk 8033 Foxtrot, left base 10, full stop, Morrow. go ahead and put another 10 degrees of flaps in. Prepare for a bubble up. Let's go ahead and trim for this descent. Looking for about 70 miles per hour. Airspeed right now about 70 miles per hour on the left base, runway 10. Okay. We do have a bit of that 160 crosswind, headwind component right now. So I'm going to lift my left wing, roll it in. Morrow County Skyhawk 8033 Foxtrot, left base to final approach, 10 full stop, Morrow. Let's go ahead and get flaps 3. Okay, gear is fixed and welded, fuel is on both, mixture is in, landing light is on, carb heat's on. Put some power back in, stop that descent rate just a little bit. Approach speed 60 miles per hour. Go all the way down the end of the runway. Go all the way down, all the way down, all the way down. Let's go ahead and transition. Pull the power out. Try not to land our plane. Let's get across this whole short line. We'll go ahead and announce clear. Okay, flaps going up. Morrow County traffic, Skyhawk 8033 Foxtrot's clear, runway 10, taxi ramp Morrow. Okay, strobes going off, carb heat off. Let's take her home. Alright. That was interesting. Alright, after landing, flaps are up, carb heat's off, strobes off, did all that. ELT is silent. Okay, avionics going off. G5's going down. Okay. Lights going off except our beacon. Let's get our mixture to lean. Mags to off. Master to off. Beacon off. Then we'll disconnect from VATSIM. And we'll do another ELT test just 'cause. Downwind Sim, hello. Welcome in. Getting close, yes, getting there. We got most of the interior paneling up. Got the handles installed. Still need to get some vinyl on the front A-pillars and our air vents. But I wanted to try sort of a first-person point of view. See how that might work out as compared to previously just sitting behind, I guess. So I don't know, I'll have to get some opinions to see if something like this would be different and enjoyable versus the previous view. Don't know yet. So, looks great, you said? Well, outstanding. Appreciate that compliment. Okay, I think that's it. Alright. Parking brake is on. Keys coming out. Let's go ahead and head back to the hangar and do a little bit more chit-chatting. Then I do have to say goodnight. Okay. For now, I have to take you off.
Okay, well, hopefully, that was something different. I'm not sure. Ideally, I could find something really, really small to wear, because wearing that GoPro is not the most comfortable. But yeah, we could try something like that. But it is coming together quite nicely, I think. Angle of attack indicator is working. So next, most likely, will be the rear display, which is going to sit right here. In fact, what I want to do is just kind of test fit it real quick. I know it's going to be a bit wider now. Let's see if I can get this out of there. previously,
Caution, too slow.
it sat up here.
Caution.
This was the relief for the handles, or for the panel control. But I am actually wider now than my cabin. So my previous L brackets that I was using aren't necessarily going to work in this instance.
Too slow.
Unless I were to somehow extend possibly somehow sister a board onto here, which would effectively widen at least this very last inch and a half of the cabin, and then I could use those same L brackets because it essentially just wrapped around. It does get a little warm in there downwind sim, but we do have our cabin air that does function. We'll get that installed at some point in the near future as well. So that
Too slow.
may be what might have to happen. I bring this board up like this.
Caution, too slow.
Put one on each side. That could theoretically work. Maybe. Let's look at doing that real quick. Let's maybe just get this display up there. Before we do that, we need to move this out of the way. The back half doesn't get a solid panel. I just wrap this vinyl around it just to help let some air flow through, but what I need to do is figure out how much I need to trim off, because our cabin is shorter now, narrower. So I'm gonna have to trim quite a bit off the end here. If I were to keep that access hole in the middle, what I'm doing is I'm just I folded this in half to where this is my little access panel, little access area to access the control panel for that rear display. So I imagine that as long as I line that up in the middle, with it folded in half, and I make a cut, it'll tell me where I need to cut on each end. What did I do with that tape measure? It's over here.
Caution, too slow.
half would be the middle. Close enough. Yep. Right about there. As long as I make a cut and then just now I'm not going to cut both sides like that. I'm just going to cut one side, but at least I know where to cut it. Of course, it's crooked. No, it's not. My eyes are crooked. Let's just double check this. I'm going to bring the new edge over this way. Yeah, that'll probably be just fine.
Caution, too slow. Caution, too slow.
Bear with me while I cut this on the ground here. It's just a lot easier. Sort of like that. And then if you wanted to get creative, you could possibly fold the edges in and staple them or whatever the case may be. That's good enough. But I still need to figure out how I want to mount this television.
Caution, too slow.
Previously, I used
Caution, too slow.
Previously, I used a larger version of an angle bracket like this, and it's just kind of wrapped around the back of the display, and I screwed it in you know, to the side like that. Question is, I'm not quite sure what I did with them. I'm gonna go check the garage real quick. Negative sighting. Let's see. I wouldn't imagine they would have ventured far from everything else, but you never know. It's probably gonna have to wait until I can come up with some fastening hardware. But I honestly think that's gonna be the next thing, is that get the display up there. And get it wired in and get the cable ran. Which I'm gonna have to use one of... I hope these things work out alright. It's just a temporary solution. But I'm gonna have to, since X-Plane only uses one video card, you know, all 4 of the displays are gonna have to go on the 3090, which means I'm gonna have to unplug the GTN 650 from one of those ports, but I don't have any other display ports on the X-Plane PC. So I'm hoping this USB 3.0 to 2 HDMI adapter does what it claims to do and takes a USB signal and provides me an HDMI out. It's only got to work that 650 as a monitor. So I've got a NVIDIA. It's just a GT 1030 that's coming. I'm just not sure exactly when it'll be here. And that's going to go inside and take place of this. I don't necessarily trust these. I have no experience with them to say that, but I don't know. It's just it's interesting technology. It's a very new concept, that USB to video. So that much I'm not. I can't attest to. So all of that being said, I think we're kind of at a standstill because I don't have any brackets to get that display up there. And these ones here, I don't think. Yeah, these ones here are just too small, and it's not going to wrap around there enough. But I think this is what we're going to have to do is, as I said, we'll take another 2x2, kind of bring it up here even with the top, and then this will just be a bit more surface area, I guess, for that display to kind of lean on. And then we'll take don't think they're in this box, but let me check. But, you know, if we were to attach this to here, that's gonna bring us wide enough to use a bracket of that style, and because the theory is it's just gonna kind of wrap around the display. So I think that's it for tonight. Once again, I do want to thank everyone for coming in and hanging out. Part 12 of the rebuild. I don't know when the last part is. You know, I'm just kind of counting them up as we get them done. So, WestJet, hello. Welcome in. You did miss our first person point of view flight, but that is on the VOD if you want to go back in and check that out. For the first time, I actually strapped the GoPro camera to my head. It was interesting, but I still think that it was still higher than my line of sight, because looking at, you know, as I was watching it, I could still kind of see the break in the horizon. But hopefully it was enjoyable. Probably won't see me again until Friday evening. Maybe tomorrow, but not likely. So, until our next unscheduled rebuild part, I hope you all take care and stay safe. Certainly take care of each other. Let's see who we can go and say hello to this evening. And again, Danny Sugar, thank you for that new follow. Alright, we're gonna raid somebody else new. Streamer is It's Nor Cali. Doing some Arkansas River bush flying, looks like in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Again, I'm not familiar with the channel, but the title in and of itself sounds like some flying that I would do. So let's go say hello. Again, Resolated, follower number 500. Absolutely, I remember it like it was yesterday. So very, very grateful and thank you for that. So let's go say hi to It's Nor Cali. And yeah, take care and stay safe, and we will see you next time. Have a great evening, everyone.